Now I would like to invite Shazia ma'am for her speech.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। आप सब लोग ने हमें यहाँ बुलाया है, वाइस चांसलर साहब को, सार्थक को, आप सब लोगों को, थिंक इंडिया की टीम को तहे दिल से शुक्रिया, नमस्कार। और यहाँ पे आपसे मिलकर, आप जैसे लीगल माइंड से मिलकर रूबरू होकर वाकई में बहुत कुछ लग रहा है, सीखने को भी है और उम्मीद रखने को भी बहुत कुछ हमारे पास है। मैं अपने पैनलिस्ट सबकी बात सुन रही थी और काफ़ी बातें यहाँ पे हो गई हैं। लेट्स जंप इनटू इट and talk about the heart of the matter. Yes, the women citizens of this country. एक संविधान है, एक निशान है, कहते हैं एक विधान है, लेकिन जहाँ तक महिलाएं हैं और बेटियाँ हैं, बहनें हैं, उनके लिए विधान तो एक नहीं है। क्योंकि अगर पर्सनल लॉज किसी को सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट करते हैं तो वो महिलाओं को करते हैं, बच्चों को करते हैं। Friends, I stand before you to speak on a subject that lies at the very intersection of gender equity, justice, equality, and human rights, the urgent need for a uniform civil code. I have been a petitioner in this matter, and I had moved the Supreme Court in 2021, and I had sought direction to the Centre to formulate a standardized UCC for grant of alimony and maintenance to ensure and also to obviate hindrances caused by different sets of personal law prescribed by different religions. I'm happy to say and state this here that bench of Sanjeev Khanna ji and J.K. Maheshwari ji had tagged the petition with a plea that we all seek a gender and a religion neutral mechanism for grant of maintenance and alimony to all citizens. Moving on, we've talked about directive principles. Now, हमारे देश में सुबह शाम आजकल एक नया हंगामा है। कभी होता है कि भाई इस्लाम खतरे में है, कभी मुसलमान खतरे में आ जाता है। आजकल तो संविधान खतरे में है, सब लोग सुनते हैं। चलिए संविधान की बात करते हैं और आप लोग मुझसे ज़्यादा बेहतर जानते होंगे, चाहे वो प्रियम्बल हो या फिर आर्टिकल 14 हो या फिर आर्टिकल 15 हो, डिस्क्रिमिनेशन जिसमें किसी तरह से परमिसिबल नहीं है, या फिर 15(3) हो। आप देखेंगे किसी भी तरह से ना सिर्फ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन अलाउड नहीं है, बल्कि पॉजिटिव डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, एफर्मेटिव एक्शन की ज़रूरत है टू एम्पावर करने के लिए। फिर आप देखिए आर्टिकल 17 को, इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी इन पब्लिक एम्प्लॉयमेंट। अब चलिए, हम लोग ने बहुत बात की तो B.R. अम्बेडकर की, उनका जो एडवोकेसी रही है इसको लेकर और उनका जो लगातार पुश बैक रहा है और किस तरह से रेजिस्टेंस रहा था जवाहरलाल नेहरू का, और उनको लगता था इंडिया इज़ नॉट राइप फॉर दिस रिफॉर्म एंड दिस कोडिफिकेशन. आई डोंट नो हाउ राइप इंडिया इज़ नाउ, बट from all that we hear right now and after the Shah Bano case to the triple talaq discourses, legal and otherwise, legal and political, as well as during Waqf, we know how ready we are for this. Moving on, let's look at all these, let's talk about women in every community. Starting with the Muslim Personal Law Shariat Application Act of 1937. Now, whether it's triple talaq, we all know, everybody knows the details of it. Now, what I find very interesting in this entire conversation, that even Muslim nations which do not believe in talaq-e-biddat as an innovation, talaq-e-biddat which is not even part of the constitution, but there was a huge section in our country who was ready to go against even the word of Quran. Forget constitution. But we are talking about the likes of All India Muslim Personal Law Board, who are ready to go against not just the word of the Constitution and all that I have stated just now and all that we are aware of, but also Quran, also the mandate in all the Muslim countries, including Bangladesh and Pakistan and Sudan and Tunisia and Egypt, so to speak, only to keep this going. Now, this takes me back from a legal conversation to a political one. It seems starting from 1913 to when Jinnah talked about Waqf, to 1923, to of course later 1954 when the Waqf Act was made and the Waqf properties that became part of the law. It seems nothing much has changed, starting then to now. And this is exactly what is a matter with this, the need for a UCC to ensure that the promises of the Constitution go to every citizen out there, irrespective of religion and gender. And I think that is the biggest travesty. I also find it very fascinating that while everybody talks about, and this is important that I say it to you, there was a Pew research, and it said that mostly in Muslim populations in other countries, in India too, there was almost 80% of Indians who wanted the Shariat law. Now, Muslims here are all right with CRPC and civil matters and criminal matters. It is the Constitution, it is the CRPC and Civil Code. What happens when it comes to personal law? तो वो तो प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं. जो थियोक्रेटिक स्टेट्स में जो कानून होता है वो तो हो नहीं रहा है, जाहिर सी बात है, करेक्ट. जो मुस्लिम नेशंस में जो कानून है, शरिया जो है, वो यहाँ पे चलता नहीं है. लेकिन सिर्फ पर्सनल लॉ के मामले में उनको शरिया चाहिए. So if the religious practice does not get endangered by the civil code or the CRPC, why does the idea of doing away with the personal law or the Sharia application 1937, why does that endanger and scare the community, so to speak? Because either you follow everything in Sharia, right? But you don't. You're absolutely fine with everything else. It's only when it comes to the personal laws, in matters of marriage, matters of divorce, matters of inheritance, matters of succession, matters of adoption. And I just want all of you to go through all the disparities there are. That while we are a democracy and we are all our equals, but I'll just tell you how unequal we are because of the practice of personal laws and their predominance over our society, particularly the male-female dynamics. We know about polygamy in amongst Muslims in India, triple talaq. We have discussed it threadbare. Maintenance, meher and iddat, you all must read about it, because how discriminatory it is for a woman at the time of marriage, for her life to be totally dependent on meher, which again is in direct contravention with the actual Muslim law in the Muslim countries. So strangely, we become absolutely anti-Islamic law practice in the Muslim nations when it comes to meher here. And of course, iddat. So I think you all know details about it. I don't want to go further. Inheritance. You know, while right to property was given in Islam, it was the first religion to actually recognize it and give it to women. So in that sense, Islam was way ahead. But as of now, and as is the practice, whether it's Waqf al-Alad or it's normal inheritance, women either don't ask for it, and if they do, it's half to 1/3 fraction of what a male gets. Now, something very interesting, and I think it will appeal to all of you, you know, the thinking luminaries, the legal minds. You know, the Supreme Court of India in Shabnam Hashmi versus Union of India in 2014 ruled that the right to adopt a child is a fundamental right, and any person, irrespective of religion, can adopt under secular law. Why did Shabnam Hashmi have to go to court when she wanted to adopt a child? Because the personal law did not allow a Muslim woman or a Muslim family or a Muslim man to adopt a child. She had to go to court. But this practice would entail doing away with the personal law and going to the secular law. So in the sense that this has been happening, all this has been circumvented when individuals have wanted it. The question is, how badly do we want it? Now, this is again the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2015 allows all citizens, regardless of religion, to adopt a child legally. But the Muslim Personal Law Shariat Application Act 1937 does not recognize any such adoption under religious law. Then if we move on, under the Hindu personal law, I mean, first we know that Hindu women have a right to inherit ancestral property, Implementation, as you know, is very weak. Many rural areas and even urban areas, the customs often override laws. And in divorce cases too, when it comes to alimony and maintenance, they are very inadequately enforced, leaving women financially insecure. Let's come to Christian women. Now, Christian women, until the amendments to the Indian Divorce Act, faced discrimination in divorce procedures where adultery was treated differently based on gender. Even now, property and inheritance rights in some communities continue to be dictated by outdated traditions. So again, this is governed by the Indian Christian Marriage Act of 1872 and Indian Divorce Act of 1869. Discrimination against adultery plus cruelty or desertion for divorce as a reason, not applicable to men, applicable to women. Maintenance, no clear provisions whatsoever for permanent alimony under the Indian Divorce Act, and of course inheritance. And there is gender discrimination again, especially regarding the ancestral property and customary practices. Let's come to Sikh personal law. Sikhs are governed by the Anand Marriage Act 1909 and Hindu Marriage Act 1955. And unless they follow the customary practices, and again here you'll find that there is again discrimination when it comes to inheritance as well as other patriarchal norms which preside the property and custody in rights, and they are not gender neutral at all. Widow rights in traditional Sikh families, widows are terrible. Widows are denied rights to property or remarriage through social pressure. So friends, this is my plea. The reason why I quoted the Pew Research, I think I'll tell you the year, I think it was in 2021, where I think 74% to 76% of Indian Muslims supported having access to Islamic courts, Darul Qaza, for resolving family matters like inheritance, divorce and what have you. It scares me. It is frightening. Not just because I'm a Muslim woman from a Sunni Deobandi background, but also because when I hear the likes of Zakir Naik, they're not in India, but they had enough takers, who say something very frightening and dangerous and scary, that even if a minor girl or a woman is raped by a man, and if that man goes and repents and asks for forgiveness, then the rape would be forgiven, and the brutality of the man will be forgiven because he's asked for forgiveness. So there are very real dangers that we see in front of us. We've waited a long time, and I think it's high time that, half the population of India gets the true freedom that she deserves, which is equality in law, irrespective of gender or religion. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.